I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and you're thinking mid-range device on AT&T, but you walk into the store and you're not quite sure which one to get. Well, I've got two in my hands, and hopefully this Dogfight is going to make it just a little bit easier. One of those is the HTC One VX. It's a new Android phone on AT&T, made by HTC for $50 with a 2-year agreement, and it's packing some pretty decent specs as well, including a 1.2 GHz dual-core Snapdragon S4 processor, a 5-megapixel camera, and Android 4.0, not to mention 4G LTE. Then you have the Lumia 820, also available for $49 on AT&T, and packing some pretty decent specifications: Windows Phone 8, an 8-megapixel camera, a dual-core processor, and 4G LTE connectivity. Is it Windows Phone or Android, HTC or Nokia? We'll find out in the Dogfight, but first, special thanks to our partners at Best Buy Mobile for giving us devices like this for use in our One Paw Bandit giveaway game. When you walk into Best Buy Mobile, you're going to walk out working. So either one of these devices, if you buy it, you're going to walk out working with your email, your contacts, your camera settings, and more set up and ready to go. So when you walk out the door, you're good to go. Let's do it. One of the last Dogfights of 2012, One VX. Lumia 820. Let's take it out 2012 style in part one, which starts right now. We're doing our best to roll out 2012 in style, and it's with two more Dogfights. This one is with the HTC One VX and the Nokia Lumia 820. So let's say you walk into an AT&T store. You're like, you know what, I got $50 to spend. I want to get an awesome smartphone. Well, the good news is you can get an awesome smartphone in today's world with $50. All of these mid-range Android phones are surprisingly capable now. Dual-core processors, decent displays, 5 to 8 megapixel cameras, 1080p HD recording, 4G LTE, and more. But what I like about this is the fact that these are two even awesomer, even more awesome, awesomest phones for $50. One of them is the HTC One VX, and it's packing some killer specs, including a 1.2 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon S4 CPU. It's got a 4.5-inch QHD display, so 540 by 960 pixels. You got a 5-megapixel camera back here with 1080p HD recording. You got some nasty, looks like sauce from the lunch that I had on my desk, thanks to my delivery order because it was a busy day. You don't get that in the box, obviously. That's something that exclusively comes with my one. And then you've got a front-facing camera, 4G LTE, a 1,810 milliamp hour non-removable battery. It's a little bit deceiving because the back does come off, but it reveals the micro SIM card slot and the micro SD card slot. A new device from HTC. It's an addition to the one line of devices, and it's finally available at AT&T with Android 4.0 and HTC Sense version 4. Then you have the Lumia 820 over here, and in a lot of ways it's very similar to the Lumia 920. Design's a little bit different, sure. It's a little bit boxier and lower spec, but what it does have is a 1.5 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon S4 CPU. It's got a 4.3-inch display over here with 480 by 800 pixels, a 1,650 milliamp hour removable battery, so you can take it out if you want to. The battery door is removable as well. You can get a wireless charging one if you'd like it. Both have 8 gigabytes of internal storage. Over here, 4G LTE, 8 megapixel camera on the back, 1080p HD video recording, Carl Zeiss lens, and more. So they're both $49 at AT&T, and they're very different depending on what you want. Obviously, there are some display size differences. This one's a little bit bigger, this one's a little smaller. This has Windows Phone 8, this has Android 4.0. It depends on what you want and what you're expecting out of a device, and probably more importantly, where your ecosystem lies. If it lies in Gmail, Android may be the better option. If it lies within Windows, SkyDrive, and more, Windows Phone 8 may be the better choice. But you got two awesome options here. Let's take a look at the build quality. The One VX is really a nicely built device, and I keep thinking to myself, and I told a couple of people this since I've been working with it, the build quality on this device is very, very nice for $50. Considering this device is $50, you've got nice metal accents on the side with a volume rocker, a power button. It's so nice you get a power button, woo! And then you get a 3.5mm headphone jack. Only high-end phones get power buttons. I'm not sure if you knew that, but I kid. These are terrible New Year's Eve jokes. Micro USB charging port at the bottom. And then, like I said, in the back, you get a micro SD card slot and a micro SIM card slot along with your non-removable battery. But really, it fits well in the hand. 4.5 is going to be a sweet spot for a lot of people. Really impressed with the overall size of this device and the way it feels in the hand. It's got a sturdy feel to it. And then you have this one, a little bit more plasticky, a little bit more boxy. But you got volume rocker, power button, camera shortcut button. On this side, you got nothing. Then up top, you get your 3.5mm headphone jack and micro USB charging port at the bottom with a speaker hole. So a little bit of a different design in comparison to this. This is obviously the thinner and lighter device, just to give you an idea. Weight-wise, 4.4 ounces over here, 5.64 ounces, so almost an ounce, or actually a little bit over an ounce heavier on the side of the Lumia 820, but still really feels well in the hand. HTC does a great job with devices. It's no exception with the One VX. It really fits well in the hand and is a nice device. So for those people that like the One S on T-Mobile, but wanted something on AT&T with 4G LTE, this could be a device for you. I always like the One S. That said, I wish they preserved the 1.5 gigahertz dual-core processor that we see
in the HTC One S on T-Mobile, but still a very nicely equipped device for a reduced price on AT&T. Now, it's funny because coming from Android, or coming from a Sense 4 Plus, I should say, coming from the One X Plus, the Droid DNA, there are differences between Sense 4 and Sense 4 Plus, and it's a couple of lesser noticed areas, if you will. I'll show you a couple right now. For example, in settings, we'll go in here and take a look, and you'll notice some of the personalization options aren't there. For example, you'll see some of the skins aren't there, so we'll jump into HTC Matte. You can see it's got 4 skins, and that's it. You don't have all the skin options you have in Sense 4 Plus. And another one that I noticed right away is when you go into text messaging, we'll go to compose a message, there's no option to personalize. You can change the font size, but you can't personalize the text itself like you can on the One X Plus, so you lose that ability to get close and personal with your device, kind of like the Galaxy S3 and the Note 2, where you can change the look and feel of the actual text message. You can't do that over here, unfortunately, but it really is a nice device that fits well in the hand, and that's something I like about this unit. We're in text messaging now. Over here, Windows Phone 8, and you'll see out of the box you get the typical AT&T stuff on both of these devices. You get Code Scanner, Family Map, Locker, Navigator ready to go over here, Device Help, Google integration, of course, My AT&T, Live TV via Uverse, YP Mobile, SoundHound, Wi-Fi hotspots, and more. Then over here you get AT&T Family Map, Radio, Uverse, Live TV, all of which can be uninstalled. If you want them uninstalled, so I can uninstall it, it pops it right out of the start button, or start area rather. You've got all your Xbox integration, your music integration, My AT&T, some great Nokia value adds, which we'll talk about a little bit later in part 2. Nokia City Lens, Nokia Drive, Nokia Maps, and Nokia Music. And then over here you've got Wallet, and then of course Yelp, Weather Channel, a couple of applications that I've installed as well. So let's jump right into text messaging and take a look, but before we do that I want to talk a little bit about the personalization over here, because if you're coming from Windows Phone 7 or 7.5, there are some great personalization changes over on Windows Phone 8. One of those being the ability to change the live tile sizes. For example, take a look at this. You can see these are all different sizes. I can make this my own. I can make it a big one if I want to. I can make people a regular size, or I should say a mid-range size. I can make the Weather Channel one as large as I'd like between the 3 sizes. You've got some more choice here, and not to say that it's amazing in comparison to the customization that comes with, Android, for example. But what I do like about this is it gives you more customization than you had in previous versions of Windows, and you can go into settings and you can see some new colors on the backgrounds as well. You've got really nice blue cobalt, for example. Really looks nice. It's a clean, good look. You've got cobalt, crimson, a bunch of different colors, olive, mauve, which you saw a second ago, and more. So obviously it's raining in Dallas. It's 43 degrees right now. I've not been outside all morning. Busy day in Phone Dog, Texas, but you can see here this one has some great personalization as well, with the ability obviously to select widgets, and I really like HTC's widget implementation here. It's a nice choice. And then you got, I'll move that back out so you can take a look at all the different home screens, widget selections, you've got wallpaper selections you can change between, and then of course you've got your personalization when it comes to the skin and the lock screen as well. So when you turn it off, I have productivity set, for example, and turn it back on, and you can see my productivity. If I had messages, missed calls, they would all show up right there in the center. Over here, got some great lock screen choices. I have Bing set as my lock screen, so I can come in here, for example, click on this, and we can do, let's find a theme. Actually, let's go down here and go to, scroll down, let's find lock screen. There we are. Background, photo, Bing, or Facebook. I can select Facebook and have all my pictures pop up, which is a really nice option. So if you have a bunch of pictures in your gallery, you can have a different picture pop up every time. And you get some new options with how your messages display at the bottom as well. So they both have some great customization all around. Let's take a look and go into messaging and see what the keyboards look like. 4.3-inch display over here, a little bit bigger on the One X, or the One VX rather. It's a 4.5-inch display. HTC's Android 4.0 keyboard, they made huge improvements on 4.1. Really love the keyboard on the One X Plus and on the Droid DNA. A huge improvement all around, but I can say, hey there, how are you doing? Quick Brown Fox is retired for the new year. He's taking a break for a couple of days, and you can see portrait to landscape transitions are nice and fast. And you do have the option to use a swipe-like functionality if you want to, and you can of course turn that off in the keypad as well. Then you've got this over here. You can see the cobalt blue lighting up. But I've got hey there. Let's do hey there. How are you doing? You've got portrait and landscape on this as well, and you can easily customize and change the words. What I don't like about this is the added, or the dead space rather, around the sides. You've got a 4.3-inch display here. I'd love to see more use of those black spaces around the sides of the screen, but otherwise, pretty easy to use in portrait and in landscape mode. Stay tuned for part 2 of the dogfight between Android and Windows Phone, HTC and Nokia. Who's going to win? Stay tuned for part 2 to find out.